What's happening, everyone? Just to let you know, the first 2 minutes of the show, there was some sort of interference with the camera. Don't worry, it doesn't last long, and after 2 minutes, it's back to normal. Hope you enjoy the show. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from Across the Park podcast, and we're coming to you again from the Feathers in Bootle. It's at the bottom of Aris Drive on Hawthorne Road. Boss little local boozer that's opened up the past couple of months, and it's the place to be for the footy and live music. So this weekend, Saturday, you've got West Ham against Chelsea. That's the half-12 kickoff. One that I hate. Anyway, we spoke about last week, didn't we? Bit of chat on that. And then on the Sunday, you've got Crystal Palace and Man United half-5. Brighton Forest at 2 o'clock as well. And Man City Arsenal as well. So, decent weekend of sport if you want to get out for a pint and watch it. Also, there is live music here on on Friday and Saturday. So, Friday night, you've got live music from Harry Vizakli. He's going to be playing here Friday night. And then on Saturday, you've got Mike Barlow. So, loads of footy and loads of live music, all at the Feathers in Bootle, bottom of Aris Drive and Hawthorne Road. Get down and support your local boozer. Right, straight into sports. It's been a jam-packed week of sports all over, really. We've got a bit of footy, bit of boxing, UFC, F1, golf, tennis and darts to get through. We shall start with the mighty Reds, who were not so mighty.
I was going to say, yeah, which Reds are you talking about?
Saturday afternoon. I mean... I think I literally said my words where I don't want to sit here with egg on my face, but it should be a routine victory for Liverpool, and it was anything but that. I was at the game with Alba. The atmosphere seemed a bit lacklustre, and I think the performance matched it. Just really unexpected, and just a little bit dumbfounded. You know, speaking to the lads after the game, I just don't think anyone knew what happened. Maybe the players were being a bit blasé the way I was being, because I just went into that game Saturday thinking, it's not for us to be both tipped and to have, rough seasons. And I just thought we'd absolutely batter them. And it was anything but.
I think the one thing I said, and this was after the first game you played under Arne Slot, or whether it was in the pre-season, the one thing I said is that I think a lot of teams will be relieved to see the style of play that you're adopting, in the sense that it's a bit more predictable. Do you know what I mean? It's like the way you're going to play and how you're going to try and play through teams are a little bit more predictable. Okay, there was a few nuances that a few pundits have picked up on, but generally it's a bit more like the style of play that we've seen from the traditional top four, isn't it? Dominating possession, keeping the ball, playing through the line, blah blah blah, a little less chaos as you've seen under Klopp. And I think that's Saturday, and again this is from the outside looking in, it almost looked like it exposed a little bit of what could be a bit more frustrating about this style of play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I remember saying on the show a few weeks back about it's going to feel different as there's going to be. It feels like there's less emotion in games now. It's just more strategic, like you say. And when we were 1-0 down, I didn't get that feeling of
urgency.
That kind of drama that you kind of used to get with Klopp's teams and going for it. It felt a little bit like, okay, we've been trying this for 90 minutes now. It's probably not going to work this week. And I think that is going to be the big difference in going forward. That it was a 3 o'clock kick-off against Notts Forest. It can't kind of put it down too much, the atmosphere not being there, but
unless everyone else in the ground's like you and don't like the 3 o'clock kick-offs. Weirdos.
But I just thought, there wasn't that kind of... I didn't ever feel like we were going to score or like we were chasing the game. Listen, he made loads of substitutions. I don't think they'd really done anything. It was just a thoroughly bad day in the office. I marked down in the notes here, I think every man lost his one-on-one battles. I don't think none more so than Mo Salah. I'm not sure on their left-back's name, but he was brilliant. He absolutely... I mean, I was watching Salah off the ball, and he was just doing all the old style Sunday League stuff. He was you could see pinching Salah, just pushing him, and Salah was looking at the linesman. The ball was over on, say, in the left back position. Salah's on the right wing, and I was staring at Salah. Salah wasn't even watching the ball, and Salah was moaning at the linesman, and you could just see he just had him off his game from minute one. I thought Gravenberch, again, we kind of spoke him up, or I certainly did. Bigged him up the first few games. I thought he was awful. Van Dijk, a few misplaced passes. I thought the whole team, it was just a crazy performance, and definitely derailed the kind of movement that a lot of fans.
It was literally what I was saying on last week's podcast. I can't wait for this to just come, for this bubble to burst. And all right, look, he's obviously, we're going to come on to it in a minute. He's bounced back last night very well in the Champions League, but I think a lot of opponents, certainly, I'm sure you'd agree, will look at that and take encouragement and think, well, we know how to maybe disrupt this Liverpool team this season.
Yeah, and I think that was what the kind of conversation was having a pint after the game. It was like you couldn't quite put your finger on what was so different about it. Again, if we got beat under Klopp, it was always used to seem drama, whereas we got beat there, it was just like they outplayed us and worked harder. We didn't look like we were going to score, and maybe I'm being a bit harsh on...
It was a bit too straightforward, wasn't it, for them to win?
Yeah,
a bit too straightforward, and I think that's what, again, where I think other teams will take encouragement and go, well, it wasn't rocket science, as your words just then, where they won all the 1v1 battles across the pitch. I think most teams in the Premier League, not just the Premier League, I think the top two divisions are capable of being tough to beat, being aggressive, being hard working, and winning those 1v1 battles. And if that's the blueprint, then I guess there's a few more cause for concern.
And they played well for us, but I'm not taking on away from them. They played some good football. Like, they done some great little moves, and they really exposed us at times, and that got me thinking, you know, if Forest are doing that to you when we play Man City and they're on it, it might be interesting. The other thing that was very disheartening, not only coming away from it with 0 points and a poor performance, was then you look at Man City and Haaland gets another hat-trick. I think he's scored now 9, hasn't he, in 4 games. And I've seen a stat that if he carries on his current form, he'd hit 150 goals this season.
It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen, but it just shows you.
I'm amazed up though. I put him captain. I basically moved all my team around this weekend thinking I need to get him in the team, put him in, made him captain, and he delivers again.
Well, I'm probably a week behind you on that. I was thinking surely
you're
he's not
rock bottom, mate.
I know. It's because I've not got Haaland in.
Yeah,
that is literally the only reason. Everyone's got Haaland as captain apart from me. And mate, he's on record to join the Premier League 100 club this season.
It's crazy.
In his 3rd season.
Crazy.
I seen another stat about him as well that said he's only been caught offside something like 15 times, whereas Nunes has been caught offside something like 70 times. You think they both joined the Prem at the same time, and you just look at the careers. You know what I mean? It's night and day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So not only, and that's the kind of levels I think Klopp and Guardiola have took the Prem to. Yeah, you get beat by Forest. It's not great. You don't play well. Everyone's a bit pissed off. But already you're looking at Man City going, oh, well, that's it then. You know what I mean? 3 points ahead. And when you see them just...
I mean, Arsenal as well, to be fair to them.
Well, yeah.
They're pretty... Missing Declan Rice, missing Odegaard, and still done a pretty decent job on Spurs.
And that's the thing, no, now when you are dropping points against the lesser teams, at home especially, not only are you gutted by your own result, but you're already just thinking, well...
That's 3 points lost.
Yeah, we've got to find 3 points somewhere now. It's like even if we beat Man City, you're only just making up for Forest, and that's the kind of levels it's took it to. So yeah, come away from Saturday really disappointed. But then thankfully Tuesday night, Champions League, go off to the San Siro, and we go 1-0 down within 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like the
wheels have come off.
The wheels have well and truly came off. So much so that I was tempting to cash out my bet, because I had Liverpool in my bet, and I thought the first 10 or 15 minutes, I thought, we are not scoring here.
Yeah,
like, what is going on?
Morata looked like he was going to be a handful all night, didn't he? And he was tormenting the 2 centre-backs, but...
It just looked like, oh God, it was a really scary 10 or 15 minutes, and then, don't know what happened, but they just clicked into gear, and then from like the 15th minute on, they absolutely dominated. They played really well. I thought Gravenberch, again, he's 3 or 4 great games, 1 or 2 not so great games, and then he's bounced right back. I thought he was brilliant. Gakpo, first time he started, I think, this season. I've never seen him run like that at players. I didn't really realise how fast he was. He looked good running at players like that with pace. You know, he got the assist for the 3rd goal. Salah, he looked like he was ready to make a statement after a poor performance at the weekend. Unlucky hitting the bar twice. You know, back to his best, taking on players, cutting inside. I thought he played really well. I think the whole team, it was the perfect game. You know, going away to San Siro. I know AC Milan aren't the team that maybe, you know, the 2005 to 7 kind of side, but it's still AC Milan. It's still going to San Siro. They've got a young team. The manager's trying a lot of new things with them and stuff. They've got some real talent there, and a lot of them have already applied to trade in the Premier League. So it could have been a tough game. It was a tough first 15 minutes, but then thankfully they got in the groove and ended up battering Milan. I thought they played, you know, could have been 4, 5, 6 even. So thankfully, yeah, got us back to winning ways. And now it's trip to Bournemouth to look forward to on Saturday, which hopefully they don't repeat what they done last time. They were on Merseyside and we can beat them. But yeah, a mixed week. Absolutely gutted still off the Forest game. And as a City now on a kind of Wednesday morning, buzzing to kind of get the 3 points in the Champions League, and just hopefully we can continue that performance rather than the Notts Forest performance, really.
Well, that's it now, and the next few performed or next few games will tell you now which team you are. Do you know what I mean? I don't think. I mean, I hope it's the case, but I don't think the Forest game is the yardstick or the game that you kind of go, well, that's where we are based on that performance. I think at the moment, despite what I'd like to believe, that there's more performance that have been positive, isn't there, than that have been negative. And again, I think Bournemouth will be interesting because, you know, as we've seen, they're not a team that give up. I think that they're a decent side at home. I think they're very physical and aggressive in the final third. They're not too dissimilar to Forest, to be fair. Although I do think they're a bit more ropey at the back, which is where I think it'll be a high scoring game now. A really high scoring game, actually.
I think for me as well, if I want to try and look at the positives, I'm kind of hoping that loss to Notts Forest is almost a bit of a, because let's be honest, I was trying my best not to get carried away with 3 wins.
You were getting carried away last week. You were getting carried away.
Well, there you go. There you go. So maybe this was just what we needed to kind of say, you know what, look, yeah, you're playing well, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still work to be done. So maybe it was a good thing to get beaten there, take a little knock. Hopefully they can put it right and get 3 points again, because again, the standards are at such a level with Man City and now Arsenal. You just can't. You need to be beating these teams. There's no two ways about it. You need to be beating these teams, and hopefully we do on Saturday. On to the blue half of Merseyside. I'd love to say there was some positives. I mean, I'm sure you're going to tell me some positives.
No. Unusually, I'm not. No.
Well, yeah.
I mean, let's listen. Let's.
I come out. What I say is, I come out the ground on Saturday, 5 o'clock, having a pint after the game. Everton are on the telly, and I'm thinking if my mood can improve from just watching that dross performance from Liverpool, please Villa, batter Everton. That can at least get me mood, going again. And then you just go 1-0 up. I'm going, they'll still get beat. Then you just go 2-0 up. I'm going, fucking hell, this weekend is
two decent goals as well.
This weekend is becoming tragic. And then you just get beat 3-2.
Yeah. We'll start with that one first, then obviously in chronological order. The Villa game, I mean, despite, I'm not going to contradict myself, I think there were some positives to say how's the Villa game in the sense that we were going there expecting to get beat. I said last week when, I think considering or reflecting on my expectations going into that game or what I was hoping for, I said, look, we just need to go and compete. We need to kind of put last week behind us, which we didn't because we've been haunted by the same thing again. But we just need to show that there's a bit more about us. And to go 2-0 up at Villa is a positive. We scored 2 good goals. McNeil, as I'm going to come on to in a moment, is one of very, very few positives at the moment. He's putting in some good performances. Calvert-Lewin obviously gets his second goal in 2 games. You're thinking, okay, well, good start. But from there,
that miss when it's 2-0, when he's 1-on-1, he needs to be putting that away.
Didn't even get a shot away. Get a shot away.
The defender gets
didn't
back.
Even get a shot away with like 40 yards of space, or he has at least 15-20 yards of his own space. That's criminal. But still, regardless of that, you scored 2 goals away from home. You'd expect to get something from the game, and not only you expect, you should get something from the game at this level. If you go to, all right, let's maybe make the exception yourselves, City and Arsenal away. You may be thinking, there's still a game on here. Villa, despite the fact they finished 4th last year, they're not at your level. They're not that far ahead of us. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should be expecting to get. No, listen, bear with me. I'm not saying we should be expecting to get results against Villa, but with a 2-goal handicap, we should be getting. Getting a result. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think the exception is if you go 2-0 up at Man City, Liverpool, or Arsenal, you're still thinking we still easily get beat here. I think you go to Villa, Newcastle, you expect to get a draw at that point. There's no excuse again outside of those top 3 to be going 2-0 up against any team in the Premier League and to be getting beat.
Do you think there was a mindset in the sense that maybe that the plan for the week might have been, let's try and get a draw or whatever, and then when they find themselves 2-0 up, it's a bit like, shit, we haven't got a plan for this?
Couldn't agree with you more. I haven't thought of that before, but the minute you said it, I'm nodding because I'm going, yeah, exactly. I don't think that team is prepared in training to go 2-0 up, and what if we are 2-0 up, how do we play then? Do we keep attacking? Do we stick to the plan? And I think they did literally go back to the plan, and the plan was to just get bodies behind the ball. But when you're 2-0 up, the opposition are committing more men. So there's actually more of an opportunity to go and get that third, which, as you said, we could have done. But once they got the second, and Ollie Watkins gets that goal, and you could see the mood lift from their perspective. You could see the tempo of the play increasing. You could see the panic almost in our players. Obviously, we get to half time, but look, the goal from Diaby was a class strike, brilliant strike from outside the area, and a little less avoidable than the other goal. But it's just, it's utterly deflating and demoralising to get beat again, and gotten 2-0 up. And
we sat here last week saying that we never see any screamers anymore. We don't see many long-range efforts, and then all weekend the Prem was just full of them. None better than probably Duran's strike.
Oh, unbelievable strike. Yeah.
And Pickford, who you'd say was arguably a decent.
That's what I meant, Duran. Sorry, we don't say Abby.
Yeah, Duran. A decent shot. I particularly don't rate him in certain aspects, but shot stopping.
Yeah.
You think, you know what I mean? He's one of the best in the league. There was no chance he was getting that, was there?
Absolutely not. And sorry, I was just looking back at the substitutions and stuff anyway, just reminds myself. But yeah, it was a great strike. And I mean, although you wouldn't put McNeil's into the screamer category, he scored one from outside the area as well. There was so many goals over the weekend that were scored from outside the area.
The things we said on last week's pod, that just was utter bollocks. Was both of us said can't see anything other than a comfortable Liverpool victory.
Yeah.
None of us expected Everton to go 2-0 up. It was a bit like almost damage limitation almost.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned about no screamers, and all three of them were just complete opposite.
That's what you put yourself up for, isn't it? When you talk nonsense on a podcast so regularly, you're going to get egg on your face. But yeah, back to Villa. Look, it hurt a lot. And
again, like we just said then, it's only the fact that you went 2-0 up. If you got come here and went, look, we got beat 3-2. We were getting beat 1-0, got it back to 1-1, then it went 3-1 to Villa, and we got a late 1-3. You'd go, you know what, we showed some fight there. But we were never ahead, but we've kept in the game, and we might have nicked a draw at the end. That's a completely different spin on it, given you went 2-0.
What's most concerning, let's just get to the cusp. What's most concerning is we've got a manager who prides himself on being solid at the back, keeping clean sheets, etc., etc. And the biggest issue here is that we're leaking goals. We're scoring goals, but we're not scoring goals necessarily in a fluid fashion where you can go, I can see this team racking up 50, 60, 70 goals this season. That's not happening. We're scoring goals almost kind of off the cuff. So it's, whereas last season you could look at it and go, well, at least we're only conceding one, or at least we're solid and we don't look like conceding. We look like conceding every time the opposition gets in our box.
Yeah.
And look, there was some stats, and I'm going to try and find these in our group, but I hate to be kind of scapegoating here in terms of targeting players, but Michael Keane,
it's not the first time
I've said it, and it's not the first time a lot of Evertonians will have said it, but there were stats that come out this week after the Villa game, how many goals we've conceded on average with Michael Keane in the team. Have a guess. A game. 2.9. 2.9 goals a game, and we're not talking since Sean Dyche has been in charge. How on earth
that is crazy
can you persist to play someone? And he's the common denominator, by the way. With him out of the team, I think it drops down to like 1.2 or something like that.
It's mad to think that statistic. If you're playing this game, you concede nearly 3 goals.
Every time he plays. Every time he plays. But you look at the Ollie Watkins goal, and I think can't remember who it was who was defending the cross. The cross come in too easily. But Michael Keane literally goes like that and hides, closes his eyes and ducks as Ollie Watkins comes in behind him. He's such a... You can see the impact, not only his own performance, but it's the impact on the other players. Pickford looks like a bag of nerves. Tarkowski's like cringing every time the ball goes over his head, thinking, I know, he's not going to be able to defend this. So the manager is culpable on so many levels here at the moment. And what's... we'll come on to it probably a little bit more when we speak about the Southampton game, but he's getting to that stage now as a manager, unfortunately, where all the things that endeared some of the fans, not all the fans to him, are the same things now that you're thinking, fucking hell, stop it.
Well, you've just hit the nail on the head with what I'm about to say now, some kind of stats about how you're playing. You say there's no kind of... You can't go like Liverpool, or you get the ball to Salah cuts in, it's a goal type thing. Your goals are coming from
all over the place.
You don't know, yeah. On the way you're playing, I've just looked then, had a quick look. So against Brighton, you've had 37% possession. That's at home. All right, you go to Tottenham away, you're not expected to have much possession. You'd have less than 30%. Obviously, Doncaster, ignore that. Bournemouth at home, you have 47%, so Bournemouth have the majority despite being at home. You play against Villa away, again, you wouldn't expect it. You only have less than 30%. And then Southampton last night, you only have 25%. So you've not actually, apart from Doncaster, who are in League One, where you've had 58% possession.
Do you know what?
You've not actually dominated
just
any game.
Me, I wouldn't be asked about that, and I think if you go back, and you made this point to me last night, I think over WhatsApp, if you go back, I don't think those stats would be that much different to previous seasons under Sean. I genuinely don't. However, it's different when you're losing games and you're losing them in that fashion.
If you've only got, say, 30% possession, but you shut up shop and you don't concede.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah. But if you concede in possession so often and so easily, and you're conceding goals, you've got to do something about it. Like last night, as much as I kind of brushed off the whole possession thing, you're watching a team and a group of players who clearly know, and this weren't their strongest 11. They had a few more, probably what you consider to be starting 11 players in their lineup than we did. But they looked so comfortable and so confident in the way they wanted to play. Our players were just lashing the ball forward, and it was like, that's okay again if that's something that you're comfortable doing. But we didn't look comfortable. We didn't look comfortable out of possession. We looked like we were trying to win the ball back, but we didn't know how. We got the ball, and we again, like as often said, we had little to no idea. Beto gets hooked later on for Ashley Young, which is
he was booed
one
on,
of the most
by the way.
Bizarre. I mean, no, he wasn't booed. Let's get this clear. He wasn't booed on. The manager's decision was booed. It's 1-1 in the cup with 15 minutes to go. The game was to and fro, right? They had possession, but we were having chances, they were having chances, and we took the only forward on the pitch off for a right back.
So you don't think it was Ashley Young?
No, it was a bit. Don't get me wrong, he's not a fan favourite, Ashley Young, but it wasn't him we were booing. It was the decision to bring. It was the decision to bring a right back on for a forward. It was like, what are you doing? Like, look, Beto had not had the best game of his life. However, as I've just alluded to, then the ball was just getting booms up to him, and you know. He's got a touch like a brick wall anyway, so it's bad enough when he's getting decent balls played into him. But every time we got it, we were just launching balls up to him, and it was just go and fight for that. So I felt a little bit sorry for him. But to be clear, the boos, I didn't boo personally. I don't see the point in that. But the boos that were coming and the comments I heard from the people who were booing were absolutely directed at the manager, as in, what are you doing?
Well, on that then, if you're saying the fans aren't happy with the manager's substitutions. The fans don't know a style of play. It's not working. What he's kind of known.
We know
for.
the style of play, but the style of play is not effective.
It's not working.
Not effective.
Is it time for Dice to go?
Even if it was, like I said a couple of weeks ago, there's nobody at the club who's got the authority to make that decision, and I don't think necessarily that the issue is around finances, because I don't believe even 3 or 4 million is beyond our reach at the moment. It's just the fact that there is no one who can sack the manager. There isn't.
Do you know if there was, though? Sean Dyche, for me, is like a kind of, he's your go-to to get you out the shit.
He is. And again, going back to, I don't disagree with that, and I've been the biggest advocate for that. There's not many managers out there that could keep a team in the Premier League and knows how to win games and knows how to keep clean sheets. He's not doing any of those things, though.
That's the scary thing, though, for me. The kind of Sean Dyche, Sam Allardyce kind of manager who you go to when you're in the shit. You've got one of them now. It's not working, so who do you go to after that? That's the scary thing, I think.
Well, you go to a manager, I think, who can get the best out of the players. The one thing I credited, and I'm not saying we're going to get an Arnie Slot or someone of that calibre, the one thing I've credited him with straight away is he seems to be trying to get the best out of the players. He's forgetting about his own style, and he's going, okay, well, I'm going to play you there because that's your best position. I'm going to play you there because that's you spoke about Cody Gakpo. I'm going to play you there, Gravenberch. I'm going to play you there. He's putting the players in the positions they're comfortable and trying to get the most out of them. Sean Dyche is still going back, reverting to type, despite the fact we've turned over players. We've got new players, actually improved players, but he's playing them in positions and playing them, adopting a style of play that doesn't suit this team. What we need right now is a manager who's going to look at them players and go, okay, well, I've got a bit of pacing forwards areas. I'm going to use that now. I've got a bit of flair out wide. I've got these players in the middle who maybe haven't got as much experience as we've had in the past. Maybe I play 3 centre backs. There's all kinds of combinations, and again, I'm not suggesting a blueprint here of how this team's going to win games, but the fact of the matter is he's not playing to the strengths of the players. He's not trying to change the style of football, and I don't think he's capable of changing the style of football. I think previously at Burnley and at the start of his reign at Everton, he was allowed to bring players in that suited his style of football. We've now got a director of football who's bringing in players to improve the squad, to allow the club to sell them on, all the reasons that should be happening. However, the manager's not getting the most out of them. And one of the comments he made, I don't know if it was yesterday before the game, or I think it was yesterday before the game, it was around the recruitment, and he basically said, you'll know that if I haven't signed players, that if the players have not had my kind of backing, because I won't play them.
Oh.
And he said it doesn't work if the manager doesn't agree with the signings, because basically the manager won't play them. So he's already telling you there's certain players. Jesper Lindstrom might be one of them. I imagine Odell Mangala's another one. I imagine Jake O'Brien's another one. They haven't had many minutes since they've come in. I mean, Odell Mangala was very recent.
Doesn't rate them then?
He doesn't rate them, and whether he doesn't rate them or he doesn't feel they suit his style of play is one and the same point. But the fact of the matter is, he's not happy. Let me leave you with this. I don't know if you've seen this comment that he made. When asked about the performance, he said, I thought it was a good performance tonight, and we practiced penalties this morning. That was what he said.
I see it.
And for me, he just sounds like a manager who's like, go on then, sack me.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say, which is, and again, you'll know more about it than me, I wasn't aware of the injury crisis that's kind of going on at the minute. I seen all of the players went down with a virus or people were ill. Do you think, maybe I'm being little bit harsh here, that to me screams as players bottling it? As in, now's the time to be in the trenches and, you're fighting. If you've got players coming out saying, I've got a bug, I feel sick, I'm not quite 100%, and they're almost forcing the managers and not to play them, that to me says a lot about the players. When it's time to look, we've not won all season, we're in the cup, come on, we need you here, and people are saying, oh, I'm not quite 100%. That's concerning for me. Am I being a bit harsh, or is there like a genuine injury kind of crisis going on?
It's not an injury crisis. We've been without key players. Last night, I'm not sure if that was the case, that all these players have viruses, or there were some players that were being rested for Saturday.
But he did make the comment saying I had to put 2 keepers on the bench and there's only so he's kind of making excuses saying I haven't got the players there. So there are players who are making themselves unavailable for him.
Let's get it right. He's making excuses for himself. And again, it was another thing that grated on me in terms of comments after the game. He's very persistent now in defending himself, not defending his team or defending the style, but he's defending himself and the way that he's conducting himself and the preparation that he's making for games. In terms of the players, and to go back to your question, I don't know. I wouldn't argue with you, and I wouldn't agree with you. You can only take the performances of the players on the pitch as an indication as to whether they're backing the manager. I don't believe there are enough performances out there from players backing the manager. The only player I'd probably say had a decent performance last night was Dwight McNeil. The rest of the players, I don't think really performs anywhere near the level you'd expect of them. But
do you know, looking forward as well?
My shoulders a bit.
Looking forward, and I'm thinking again, not that I'm a multi-billionaire businessman, but there's all talks. I've seen there was talks this week of Jay-Z looking to get involved in buying the club.
It's John Textor, isn't it, getting them involved in
to invest in that. But do you think though these potential new owners are looking at Everton thinking, okay, we're going to have to stump up X amount of millions. However, if these actually go down, we're going to get them on the cheap here?
No, because the commercial worth of the club significantly depreciates if they leave the Premier League. Now is a good thing. It does, mate. It does.
With that stadium and the history of Everton.
It does.
But if an owner comes in, right...
But it doesn't matter, because the price at the moment is not that the price is paying off the debt. There is no price. There is no price at the moment. What the potential investors can get back and their return on investments, which whether we like it or not is what this game's about, is based on, is hinged on, is a Premier League club with a world-class stadium. A Championship club with a world-class stadium just doesn't sell.
But if fit the bill. These owners have obviously got big egos, they're good at business, they won't be coming in thinking, they'd be coming in thinking like every other owner does in the Championship, thinking, I can get us to the Prem. So if they wait 6 months, 9 months...
You can't wait 6 months or 9 months, though. That's not an option, as we've discussed before. It's not an option to allow the club to continue in the situation they're in from a lack of cash for 9 months. John Textor's recent... interview suggests that the club is absolutely fine up until the end of the year, and it's fine up until the hard stop that he's put on this deal, which is the end of November. I think the suggestion of potential suitors waiting for the club to go down to get them on the cheap, it doesn't get any cheaper than this. The deal that's on the table is the cheapest that it gets.
That's fair point then, but surely though, as a potential investor, you're looking at on the field thinking, fucking hell, this is not
listen, you know what Americans are like. You know, you only have to watch Moneyball to know they love a story. They love an underdog story. They love a story about coming in, changing things, putting things in place, look what we did and rising things up. So I think all the appeal and the nostalgia around the club is not being impacted by the performances on the pitch. If anything, they're going, we've got an easy win here. We come in, we put a new manager in, we buy 2 players in a window. Suddenly we're God's gift. Everyone loves us. We're the best owners ever. We can shout from the rooftops, which John Texter already seems happy to do. So no, I don't buy into that narrative. I think I've agreed with enough of your comments, but I'm not agreeing with that one.
It was quite funny, some of the memes. The Jay-Z, I've got 99 problems. He's now got 100.
You haven't seen. Yeah, you've got a lot more than 99 problems if you're going to buy into Everton, mate.
We finish
on a new song
on the Blues. Then we finish on obviously, which will, things will look. I mean, we sat here last week talking about Liverpool, how rosy it looked. By Saturday afternoon, it was like, what the fuck's gone on there? We spoke about how dire things are for Everton. Listen, if they win against Leicester on Saturday, suddenly he's out the bottom 3, and you never know. Talks start again next week at Dubois. It suddenly looks a lot different. You know what I mean?
Of course it does. Yeah.
24 hours in football is a long time. So
Saturday is a huge game. Huge game for the manager, for the players.
It's going to be tough, isn't it? Away to Leicester as well. Vardy, he's still life in the old dog.
They're scoring goals, and that's the thing. They're scoring goals. We're conceding goals. We're scoring as well. I think I said your game could be a high scoring one. The last time we played these was just before they got relegated. We drew 2-2. You remember Pickford saved a pen when it was, I think it was 2-1 to them at the time.
Yeah,
would have just ended the game and we ended up equalising. So last time we went there, it was an end-to-end game. I see this being very similar the weekend, because I don't think this team's capable of defending. If Jared Brandtwaite comes in, that just could be should make a huge difference. Look at the 2 centre-backs last night. O'Brien and Keane just looked like 2, deers in the headlights, whereas, Tarkowski and Brandtwaite have had I wouldn't say formidable, but they've had a very, very strong partnership, and that would make a massive difference to the team. But yeah, look, listen, let's make no bones about it. Saturday's massive. If we lose, there's no way whatsoever that Sean Dyche has another minute in that job once the new owner takes over. I think regardless of results after that, a loss against Leicester will be the nail in his coffin.
And what's your honest opinion? You think 3 points, a draw?
I think it'll be a draw, unfortunately. Draw. Yeah, 2-2 again.
2-2. Okay, right, that's Liverpool Everton done. Some other news in the world of football. One of them is just, this one's mad. So Alisson's come out this week, and also Rodri from Man City. And Rodri in particular has come out and said that if players are keeping on being made to play in so many games, that they might think about going on strike. Now, I will kind of say before this, I do agree there is too much football. You can't expect players to be playing at 100%. Saturday, Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. So I actually agree there is too much football going on. But to suggest that they're going to go on strike is just fucking the most idiotic thing I think I've ever heard in my life. He's getting paid 350 grand a week, whatever like that.
Quit then.
Everton, exactly.
You've got no right, and as much as I'll listen to Rodri's statements, and obviously TalkSport have played it a few times this morning, I listened to his statements, thought it's measured, it's calculated, etc. He's quite fair, and I think he says a few times, in my humble opinion, so he's not suggesting that he represents the masses, but he is at the same time.
I know.
Like, a strike doesn't work if it's 1 or 2 people. It needs to be a mass, exodus, so to speak, or it needs to be everybody going, we agree that we're all going to walk away. Because if Rodri goes, I'm on strike, and everyone else goes, see you later then, he's just sitting on his arse, and he's probably not going to get paid for it. So I think that type of conversation, first and foremost, needs to be a conversation that your group of players, not every professional footballer in the Premier League, your group of players, because I think, again, TalkSport, Simon Jordan made the point of saying this affects less than 10% of the players out there. We're talking about Liverpool players, Arsenal players, Man City players, players that represent the
top
country.
International, yeah.
Exactly. So the first conversation, before it even gets anywhere near the media, should be your dressing room sitting down with the powers that be at your club and say, stop accepting these fixtures, because the clubs can stop it. They didn't have to agree to all this. The clubs had to agree to all the changes. If the clubs who qualify for the Champions League went, nah, we don't like this, too many games, or if the clubs who qualify for the World Club Championship said, nah, we're not attending that, it will put a stop to it.
You saw United a few years ago saying we're not playing in the FA Cup. Just do that then.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say we don't want to play in the FA Cup.
And that's the point. They're your employers. So go to your employer. If you're employed by someone and you're getting worked, you're getting too many hours, giving you too many shifts, or they send you on too many jobs, you turn around and go, nah, that's enough. I'm getting paid my weekly wage, and this is where, like, regardless of whether you're getting paid £500 a week or £500 a week, if you feel like you're being overworked, you go to your employer and say no, and you work something out, so your employer might go, okay, we'll pay you a bit less then.
Exactly. But they're not going to the employer, they're coming out to the public, who where the average national wage is, 30 grand a year. They're getting paid 500 grand a week, and they're coming to us, as in they're speaking to the public, saying, I'm thinking about going on strikes and work too hard. Fucking read the room, mate.
No, you're not getting any. Room. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, if anyone, right, you said to someone from the ages of 16 to 36, right, give me 20 years of your life, right, and you know, you're gonna play footy and you're gonna have to run probably 10k a day. But they don't do that. But let's just say you're gonna have to run 10k 3 times a week. Be tired on your legs. You know what I mean? You can't drink. You can't. But 35, you'll be retired with £50 million in the bank. You're up for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
That said, I'm not saying that, and as you've just suggested, not every day's a honeymoon. It's not like maybe the perception that we might have, or the common man on the street might have of, it's all brilliant, all you do is run out in front of 60,000 every week. There's loads of stuff, that whole iceberg analogy.
Of course, yeah.
There's loads of stuff and work, and these professional footballers have worked like dogs as kids to get to where they are. So, look, they've earned that, but then at the same time, you say you've got to take... You've got to take the obligation that goes with that ridiculous money.
Yeah.
If they want to go back to be on 20 grand a week, which is still a hell of a lot of money, by the way, and turn the clock back 20 years and not play on a Tuesday night and in Europe and not do this and not do that, then okay, maybe that's a conversation. But
you know what? If
they need to sacrifice something
exactly
to get,
and they're not sacrificing anything. They're getting paid all this money and then just fucking moaning. But they're moaning to people who are having to actually work and graft just to make ends meet. So
them comments should have been, look, there's a few issues we've got as players, but it's ours to resolve with our employers.
Exactly.
We get paid very well, and we'll resolve that and we'll sort that out.
Why he's come out in the public first and foremost? I mean, listen, I very much doubt it, but maybe they have had these internal talks. The Man City owners, I very much doubt that. But maybe come out in the public if and when you've tried every other avenue, and it's not working, and you say, look, this has been going on for a year now.
Transparency,
exactly. But I just think so well timed, it's so out of touch, and I just think it makes people like us in the media go, stop, you fucking ungrateful bastards.
The only way that's changing, and it's a bit like a society thing again, the only way that particular situation, that scenario changes, is if you see, I don't know, someone from Liverpool going, right, such and such a contract's been terminated, what's going on there? And he comes out and goes, you know what, I was sick of getting work, so I'm going to drop down a league, or I'm going to go and play for a mid-table Premier League team. If we get to that point, we're in Europe again, I'll discuss it again. But right now, my family, me, blah, 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 I'd have all the time in the world for that. I'd have a lot of respect for that. But don't be thinking we're going to start crying in our cornies because your 350 grand contract is not allowing you the freedom that you want and the rest
and the other thing, you've nailed it. Why aren't they speaking to the clubs and saying, in August, I don't want to fly to Asia?
You know what? I'll take a pay cut. I won't get paid during the summer.
Don't pay me during those weeks because I don't want to do the pre-season tour in America or the Far East. Or when the national team brings them up to go and play against Azerbaijan in a friendly. So you know what? I'll potentially risk my World Cup spot because I can't be fucking arsed going to Azerbaijan. Fucking say that.
They need to go back to their agents. The agents have signed this contract. I'm pretty sure these contracts, knowing the businesses we're talking about, the corporations we're talking about, the Liverpools, the Man Cities, multi-billion pounds businesses, there's no way these contracts aren't cast iron saying these are your obligations. Go back to the drawing, go back to the table, get your agents to negotiate a new contract, take a zero off that contract, and then crack on, stop moaning then.
So Rodri pissed me off at saying that, but even Alisson plays in fucking goal. Do Do you know what I mean? What's he moaning about? Alisson could play till he's fucking 50.
Times about, yeah.
It was just... Anyway, I thought it was just really poor for anyone who come out saying that. Back to the footy, actually, on the pitch. We mentioned it briefly before. Arsenal looked solid, didn't they, against Spurs? Really good. Missing a few key players. Winning 1-0 away. Great result for them. And you'd also had the Champions League, Aston Villa. I wish I'd threw them in my little bet, to be honest. I didn't really know much about young boys. I'd looked now since, and they were in a pretty in a run of poor form, so I should have really backed Villa, but I didn't expect them to win 3-0.
I didn't expect them to be that comfortable. Actually, I thought young boys were causing them some problems.
Yeah, I did,
the artificial pitch.
Yeah.
I think did they knock Galatasaray out? I think they knocked Galatasaray out.
That's what I mean. You don't know sometimes, do you? And, but they had 2 disallowed as well, so great result for Villa back in the Champions League. And you also had Man United with a big confidence boost. I think it was 7-0 in the end, was it?
7-0, yeah.
7-0. So
Anthony, I think, got a couple, didn't he? Rashford got a couple.
I think that's the type of game I thought Everton had against was at Barnsley the other week. You know, you get a few on the Doncaster, sorry, and you think, right, that's it now. And I think that's potentially could happen with United. You know, just a confidence boost for them. And then, did you see the last little one? There was the American derby,
Monday night,
Birmingham against Wrexham.
It's a good game, by the way.
Yeah, but there was just one little point I thought was quite interesting. You had Wrexham's Lee Mullin denies trying to bite a player. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, he just goes like that and he mouths.
He thinks about it.
Yeah, he goes. It's a bit like it, it's like a
frustration one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he does stop short. He doesn't go full Luis Suarez. He does stop short, but it's still not a great look. It's a bit of a weird look, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, it is a bit strange.
And then I noted it down, but I took it out because I didn't actually know the where when it happened. But have you seen some league? And it was on. If you go on your Sky Sports app, it'll probably still be on there. There's a lad running down the wing on a counter attack, and there's a coach, like the manager of the coach. He just runs on the pitch and tackles him. I don't know whether it's like, it must be a proper game. Don't know what league
I think
it's
I've seen that. Is it recent or is that
an old one? It's on Sky Sports today on the app, so it's just worth a look anyway. It's quite funny. Right, on to boxing. Massive weekend of boxing coming up. Obviously the Joshua and Dubois fight. I've not really looked much into this build with you. I watched about 5 minutes of the face-off and then
the build-up of that particular fight.
Yeah.
No, it's just kind of creeped up on me, I think. I mean, it's obviously been on the horizon for quite some time, but it's as always with these bills, it's a stacked undercard, isn't it? And they're just getting better and better, to be honest, all the time. I mean, obviously, you've mentioned it lower down there. Liam Smith pulling out of his fight is a blow.
It's concerning, I think, for him as well, isn't it? You know, given his performance, his last fight against Eubank, when his camp never went well, there was an injury, wasn't there? So you were hoping this is one where he could kind of put that injury to bed and, you know, really kick on. And the fact he's something's happened in his camp.
I mean, it wasn't a great I don't think it was great matchmaking for him. Josh Kelly's on the up. He's
well, he alluded to that, didn't he? Liam Smith said that he thinks that their camp thinks that they've caught Liam at the right time. He's on the up and they think that Liam's on the decline. That's what he's kind of come out and said he thinks. Which,
I mean, from the outside looking in, that I think that would be a fair point. And I know Liam obviously would use that from a reverse psychology point of view. And don't get me wrong, the experience he's got and the calibre of opponents he's been in would suggest that he could easily deal with a Josh Kelly. I mean, what's happened in the camp, we don't really know, and we can only believe that, you know, that he's had a virus, and obviously that's heavily impacted his preparation, and that's fair enough. You know, you can't go into a boxing ring half cooked, do you know what I mean? And certainly can't go in against an opponent like Josh Kelly not being ready. But it's disappointing for him. I think there's a good chance for him to bounce back and prove, in his words, that, you know, that loss against Eubank wasn't the end for him. Still said though, there's still some really good fights on the undercards.
Did you hear on TalkSport yesterday? I forgot the lad's name, but he's the first fight on Saturday, so maybe look at him. But he's obviously, I think he's a plasterer or an electrician.
No.
And he was on the job and he got a phone call. So he's already won. I think he's had 15 fights. He's like Central Area champion and blah blah blah, English champion, and he was just on the building site or on his way to work, and he just gets a phone call saying someone's pulled out. You want to jump in?
Love that.
And he said he was sitting on the press conference and he was sitting next to someone going, "Hey, I was on my way to work this morning, you know," and he's sitting here in the press conference. So I can't think of the lad's name, but he's first up on the Saturday. He seemed like a really nice lad. One thing I was going to mention then with Joshua, a little bit of a build-up that I did see. I feel now that this kind of pantomime, which boxing is, I guess, it's all about stories and narratives, isn't it? The one that Eddie Hearn and Joshua, kind of built up very successfully over the past 10 years or whatever it's been, of being like, you know, this kind of kid who was going on the wrong path, turned his life around through boxing, and now he's become this British icon. And it was all really built up really well for him to be this superstar celebrity, clean cut type version. I think as you're getting older and coming into kind of the back end of Joshua's career, I think that mask is slipping a little bit. Like, you heard, again, maybe it's mind games or not, but Dubois was saying, like, you know, who do you think you are type thing? And Josh was going, I'll wrap this chair around your face in a minute. He would never have said that in the early days. No. He was all about, bro, be humble. I'm just going to work hard. You know, my mindset's bulletproof. Now he's talking about wrapping chairs around people's faces. I think it's just definitely a completely different Joshua than the one that burst on the scene after the Olympics.
Unless that's what the Riyadh season promoters want. Maybe that's what they want from their heavyweights. They want them to talk about, you know, they want it to be a bit more WWE, a bit more like dramatic, so, and maybe he's just playing the part. Whereas previously it was all about being, as you say, professional, clean cut, former Olympian. But yeah, if that's
be interesting.
Maybe he's looking again. He's looking at, okay, maybe I haven't had the fights and the money that Fury's had because of the words he says and the way he you know, he kind of.
I personally think
promotes his own fights.
Yeah, I personally think he's probably thinking a bit like we spoke about Ivan Toney. You think, look, he goes, I've played the game enough now. Fucking, I'm just gonna be me. I'll fucking say what I want. I'll get me money. Fuck his all. I personally think it's a bit more down, you know, that he's played this kind of clean cut fella for long enough now, and he's just like, fuck it. In the last few fights, I'll say and do what I want. And I hope he wins. I think it'll be tough for him, but I hope he does win. Don't know enough about Dubois. What's enough of his fights?
I hope it isn't a demoralising one for Dubois. I don't think it will be, because I think Joshua will know that Dubois can bang. I think he's proved that he's got in his recent win against Hergovic in particular that he's over the knockouts from Usyk, that he's over earlier fights that against Joyce, for example, where he didn't come out of his corner. I think he's shown he's got a bit more heart than people maybe thought, so he's proved that. But I think a heavy defeat against Joshua would set him back from a morale point of view. I hope he can get through the fight and hope he can go the distance and overcome things. But I'm with you. I do think Joshua beats him relatively comfortably, to be honest. I still think
he's... knockout or...
No. I think Joshua will go for the knockout, but I think he'll stop short of that. I don't think he'll want to take the risk, because Joshua knows he can be hurt, as in himself, and I'm certain he'll know that Dubois can hurt him. So I think he'll just try and control it with the jab. I think he'll open up every now and again, but I don't think he'll overextend himself to the knockout. I think if it's going to happen, it'll happen early, and that, as I say, would be the demoralising defeat for Dubois. I think if it gets past the middle of the fight, I think it goes the distance, and you probably see Joshua come out with a unanimous decision.
Any other fights are you looking forward to? Or?
I mean, what I'm looking forward to, and it's a bit of a conflicting one for me. Josh Warrington is on the card, and he's fighting a lad again, similar to the Liam Smith fight, who's on the up. Josh Warrington, unfortunately, I think he'd admit himself he's seen better days now, and as much as he's brought us some brilliant nights domestically and on the world scene as well, he's probably again on the decline, and he's fighting a lad who in his last fight beat Joe Cordina, who has fought at the very, very top level. So
really nice lads him as well.
Boss lads. I know you've met him a few times, and everyone who's met him says the same. And I'm not. That's why I'll say this with like a kind of bitter tinge, that I think that he will see defeat, and I think he'll ultimately retire. I think at the weekend after that.
He was one of them. When I got a photo with him, and then you think, oh, nice one for that. He was like, oh, so how are you doing anyway? Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just like, here's your photo to that. He was like, oh yeah, so what's your name, sorry mate? And I was like, fucking hell, yeah. Really nice lad, yeah, really humble, down to earth lad.
And again, I hope he a bit like Dubois. Really, I do think defeat is. I wouldn't go as far as saying inevitable, but I think defeat is definitely on the cards. I just hope it's not a really demoralising, horrible one for him, and he can go out with his head held high as he deserves to, and obviously go into retirement and do whatever else he wants to do in his life. Best fight on the card for me is Joshua Buatsi against Willie Hutchinson. Both lads who love to bang and will be both considering themselves as having a chance of winning. Buatsi is the more polished, of the fighters. Willie Hutchinson is a lot more rough and ready. I think Buatsi comes through that one as well, and he'll be hoping for a knockout. But again, I think it's probably one that goes the distance. That'll be a very good fight, though. I think they'll be toe to toe for a lot of the fight. And again, you've got obviously the Josh Kelly fight, which now there's other opponents. I don't think there's going to be much in that. I think Josh Kelly.
No, he should win, shouldn't he? Yeah. I always think when someone's coming in last minute as well, it's such a I know upsets can happen, but it's such a disadvantage, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I don't think there'll be many issues there. But I am looking forward to the Joshua fight. Now we spoke about it, and I'm excited for Dubois because nobody's expecting him to win. Nobody's expecting him to win. By the way,
I just want a big knockout. I know you think it's going to go the distance. I'd love a big knockout, like bit of drama, big knockout.
Look, it's definitely on the cards, and I think that is why I don't see a big knockout, because I think Joshua will not want to be on the end of that knockout.
Very wary of
it. And knockouts, you think of this stage, a knockout for Anthony Joshua at this stage of his career would just be
finish him, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't finish him, but you'd think it's going to take too long to get back to that point, and it would just. I know it would probably be just as good as Joshua. Eddie Hearn would just be devastated, wouldn't he?
I think Fury would be as well.
Maybe, yeah, because
that's the fight that maybe everyone wants to. Well, that's the fight I want to see.
Yeah.
On to the UFC. Last weekend, I didn't actually watch much of the card. I'm going to just mention more about the venue. I know you've been to Vegas a few times as well. The Sphere.
It's class.
You actually went in, didn't you? Yeah. I didn't go in it last time. So they played. They had the UFC in there, and it's to celebrate Mexican heritage in the Sphere. It looked like unreal.
I've got to say I've been in, but I've not been in when there's an actual event on. It's just a different ball game, isn't it? When you've got all the lights and stuff going on, and from the inside as well as the outside.
What was different, I was listening to Joe Rogan's commentary, is obviously normally when you go and watch the UFC, it's in the middle and you're all around. With this one, it was almost just like on a stage. So you're watching it, but then also the screen above it was just a fight going on. It just looked like crazy. Yeah. And the main fight there was Sean O'Malley. He was fighting one of the guys from Georgia who likes to wrestle. And it was one of those boring fights where
they were just hugging each other.
And he lost Sean O'Malley, which was big gutting for him, but I think the main spectacle was just like
the actual
what Dana White's done with that. It was just like wow. So hopefully he does it again. I'd love to get out there.
I haven't seen that. I'm desperate to go and see something. See something there now.
You had also announced that McGregor won't be fighting Chandler. Obviously they done the Contender Series and they were managing one and Chandler was doing the other. Then he got the injury, McGregor. Then it's been forced back, and now McGregor's not fighting at all. Now Chandler's fighting someone else. Can't think who it was, but that whole McGregor builds up at Chandler. McGregor's he just does stuff just to keep his name out there when there's not been much substance now for a while, has there?
No, very little relevance, yeah.
And also John Jones against Stipe got announced as well, which Tom Aspinall will be probably facing the winner.
Licking his lips.
That'll be a big one. That's in November. So it's UFC news. In the F1 again, I've not been following it too much up to this point, but I will start taking a bit of a keener interest now.
It's tight, isn't it?
As the 7 races to go. And Max did have a pretty commanding lead, Max Verstappen. But for the third week running now, it's been chipping away. And there's now only 59 points separating him and Lando Norris. So, yeah, it's looking like it could be a little bit. Because the worst thing is with any sport,
if you just run away.
Yeah. You look at like the Scottish League or even Man City, some years it's like, what the fuck's the point? F1, I think, was becoming a little bit like that.
Lando Norris has got the momentum. That's what's interesting about it. If you can keep chipping away the way he is.
And some of the stories coming out was normally Max was quite kind of fiery, quite feisty in his interviews, and people are commenting saying like, is he all right? Because he just doesn't look that arsed anymore. If you do like your F1, you will have known about that already. But if you are a bit of a fair weather fan like me, now's the time to kind of start getting into it a bit more. Onto the golf, Rory done what Rory's really good at. I'm fucking up a lead.
Got in front. I mean, look, let's start. He got in front. Was the one he's really good at. Got himself in front. Showing he was the best golfer in that competition, but then just fell to pieces.
Showed he was the best golfer up until the second to last hole.
Showed he was the best golfer who doesn't win enough.
Yeah. And I just put it here as a note. Like, is there a sport where you cannot win and still be incredibly wealthy and successful, but not actually win much? I mean, is there another sport that allows that to happen?
I
suppose F1 maybe you could.
Yeah, you can still be average, can't you?
You can finish on the podium a few times a season.
Is actually similar to that because you can just accumulate points, can't you? And winnings without actually winning all the majors all the time.
Yeah, I put here thinking there'd be none. There's actually quite a few sports you can be. Well, you're not shit at it. Obviously, you're great at it compared to like me and you.
You're still very, very good at it. You're still very elite, but just not.
But you're just
champion.
Yeah, and
he's been a champion. Don't get me wrong, and I think he will still go down.
But is there anyone though in sports that has kind of not lived up to the potential? Because he is someone.
How long have you got? Footy? Jesus Christ, we could be.
But he is someone that when they come on, they thought, right, come on, he's really got to be at the top. He's going to be like, and he hasn't won a major now for how long? Was it over 10 years maybe?
Yeah, 11 years.
It's a long while since he's gone, and yeah, he had a 2-shot lead and somehow missed out on the Irish Open, and he actually said himself he's getting used to these near misses.
Hoyland was it? He ends up wearing it.
Yeah, so unlucky for him. Another one who's potentially not lived up to a potential. Well, not the potential that.
Just
I personally didn't give her.
Start beeping this second name now. You know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Well, actually, what I'm about to say. So she's actually doing quite well. She battled through into the last 16 in the Korean Open. She plays Thursday, so now we're recording Wednesday, so she might have been knocked out or she might be through by the time you're listening to this on Friday. But the point I'm going to make is she was playing an American, a 48 seed. She will never, I will say this again, I've already said it, she will never, ever win a big championship.
Another Grand Slam.
Another Grand Slam. Emma Raducanu will never win a Grand Slam. This game, that she ends up winning the set, the game 2-0, but she won both sets in tie-breaks. Right, she lost her serve, I think, 5 times in the first set. Like the other girl obviously lost it 6.
Just so you know, though, that does happen a lot more in women's tennis. Like, it is very, very common.
Gary, not at the top though. Not the top kind of 2 or 3 women.
Not 5 or 6, but it still happens. I mean, I think in the what was the last one? The US, wasn't it? I think Sabalenka in the semi lost their serve like 2 or 3 times over the 2 sets.
But this was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You know, at one point, I think she was 3-1 up, or might have even been 4-1 up.
Serve's still your bread and butter.
And she lost the next 2 service games. Ends up, she had so many set points, it ends up going to a tie-break. She was losing the serve in the tie-breaks, and that's why the title was on Sky Sports. You know, she battled through. If that was anyone else, once you get to 3 or 4-1 up, you just close the game out. You just hold your serve. Doesn't even matter if they keep winning their serve game. You've got 2 games to win it. Just see the set out. She's not even able to do that. She took her to 2 tie-breaks. Having said that, listen, she's in the last 16. She plays Thursday. If she wins, she might go on and win the Korean Open. I just will tell you now, she will never dominate tennis like the way maybe she's projected to do, and she'll never win a Grand Slam.
Wouldn't argue either.
On to darts, someone who is dominating and is living up to the hype is none other than Luke Littler. He won the World Series.
One of the best tournaments I've seen in a long time. By the way, it was brilliant.
I didn't see it, but I've seen the headlines. Apparently his stand was just like, he was just on another level.
Well, there was so many games that were brilliant. Like the quarterfinal was Humphreys and Van Gerwen, and you know, anyone who watches darts doesn't need an introduction to that matchup. Both of them were just toe to toe. It was to and fro, and it was Humphreys was up, Van Gerwen was up, Humphreys was up. Van Gerwen ends up winning 10-9, I think, after being 9-4 up, and Humphreys come all the way back and he beats him 10-9 in the end, Van Gerwen, so he gets over the line. And then you're thinking, all right, Van Gerwen's got this, and you know he faces Littler in the next round. Van Gerwen goes, I think, 4-1 up. Littler beats him 10-4. Just absolutely demolished them. And then you had Michael Smith in the other half of the draw, who he ended up playing in the final. And Michael Smith was unbelievable as well. I think he was down against Peter Wright, I think 5-2, and then he beats him 7-5. It was a brilliant tournament, and in the final it was Smith and Littler. Who what was great to see is they were the 2 best players in the competition.
You know what's mad though as well? You know, you're into darts a lot more than me, and I do love it, but I didn't see this tournament much. We just spoke there about Rory McIlroy, Emma Raducanu, just not living up to potential. Luke Littler's the opposite, isn't he? He's come there and he is just unbelievable.
The commentators were so complimentary about him as well, in the sense, in a different way. So they said they spoke to him backstage after the Van Gerwen win, and I think he was talking to another darts player, and they were kind of waiting to talk to Littler, and they were just listening to what he was talking about, and all he was talking about was fantasy footy and FIFA and blah blah blah, and he weren't even asked about darts. Like, you just come off probably one of the best wins of your career in a major tournament, absolutely demolishing one of the best players that's ever picked up a dart, And straight after it, you're chatting about FIFA and fantasy. And maybe that's the secret to him. He doesn't obsess about darts. He has got other interests. He has got other passions. Yeah. But he's just a brilliant darts player.
Yeah, it's that kind of fearlessness of a youngster. I mean, he's won the World Series in darts now. He's won 9 PDC titles in 2024, 3 Players' Championships, and he's up to now. He's on a 12 consecutive win streak. I mean, was he 18 or 17?
17.
I mean,
it's absolutely phenomenal, isn't it?
And that's what I mean. And joking aside, now when I go on about Emma Raducanu, I'm not like kind of knocking her personally, but it's just this hype around her with no substance. Whereas you look at someone like that, a lot of hype around him, but he's backing it up.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? He is backing it up, and he's there, and he looks like he's going to be there for the next 10, 20 years. So fair play to him and good effort.
No, it's funny now as well. I was in Smith's, the toy shop, the week before last, and there's an actual stand of Luke Littler stuff.
Is there?
So like the kids' dartboards, which are not like sharp stuff. They can it's either the sticky things or I don't know exactly what it is, but it's the Luke Littler set, and it's like sold out.
Yeah,
it's boss, isn't it?
And fair play to him.
Yeah,
fair play to him. Mate, we got a lot done there. A lot of
it's a long one as well, actually.
Yeah, just over an hour. So Liverpool Everton done, and all the bits of sport. Hopefully, mate, we're sitting here next week and there's something for you to smile about.
I'll keep smiling anyway. Just won't be smiling about Everton.
If you're not going to Anfield on Saturday, like I am again, don't forget to come down the Feathers on Saturday. So you've got the West Ham Chelsea game, that's the R12 kickoff. And then on Sunday you've got Palace Man United, Brighton Forest, and also Man City Arsenal all on this weekend in the Feathers. And you've got your live music Friday night with Harry Fazakli, and then on Saturday you've got Mike Barlow. So get down here, support your local boozer, and we hope you have a boss weekend.